The next question. My name is Basil Ali. I am a student of Intermediate Part 2. I am from Sialkot, Pakistan. My question is that if only one person is in the second or third saff and he prayed 2 or 3 rakats behind the imam, after the prayer ends, he should pray the rakat he missed or all the rakat because he is only one in the second saff. A similar question is asked by another person, Munir Khan, a businessman from Manchester, UK. If I enter a mosque for congregational fard Salah and the first 3 rows are completely occupied, if I stand alone in the 4th row and no one joins me later, will my Salah be valid or will I have to repeat the Salah? As far as the ruling on if a person joins the congregational Salah and if he stands alone in a row, the last row alone, will his Salah be valid or will he have to repeat the Salah? The opinion amongst the scholars is divided. According to Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik and Imam Shafi, these 3 A'immah, they say that if a person stands alone in a row for a valid reason or not for a valid reason, the Salah is valid. The Salah is not invalid. So if a person stands alone in the last row with a valid reason or without a valid reason, the Salah will be valid. This is the opinion. But according to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he says that if a person stands alone in the last row in a congregational Salah, his Salah is not valid. And the reasons given by the first 3 A'immah, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi and Imam Malik, is that they say that when a woman is standing for congregational Salah along with men, and if she is an alone woman, she has to stand, she cannot stand with the men in the same row. So she stands behind alone and her Salah is valid. So based on this dalil of the Hadith, they say that even for the man, if a man stands alone, if a woman's Salah is valid, if she stands alone in the last row, then how can you say that a man's Salah is not valid? Based on this dalil, they say that the Salah of a man in a congregation, in a mosque, even if he stands alone in the last row, with a valid reason or an invalid reason, it is accepted. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he gives the argument that here when a woman is standing alone, it is prohibited in the Sharia that a woman cannot stand in the same row as a man. That is the reason she is standing behind. So you cannot use this dalil for a man to say that his Salah will be valid, specifically because there is a clear-cut hadith. And it's a Sahih hadith that the Prophet said that a man who stands alone in the last row in the congregational Salah, his Salah is invalid. So based on this hadith, which is very clear-cut, in which the Prophet said that if a man stands alone in a row in the congregational Salah, his Salah is not valid. So Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah have mercy on him, he said this hadith is very clear-cut, it's a Sahih hadith, and based on this, the Salah is not valid. So what should a person do? So if a person sees that there is space in the front rows, and if he stands behind, there is no difference of opinion in the Hanbali school of thought that the Salah is not valid. He'll have to repeat the Salah. But if in a situation, if a man comes and if the rows are completely filled, like the second question of Munir Khan, he says, I came to a mosque and the first 3 rows are completely filled, there was no space, I stood alone in the last row and no one joined me and I completed my Salah. Is my Salah valid or not? So according to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that if there are 2 options that can be done, or rather 3 options, that if the rows are completely filled, one option can be that the person can go and stand next to the imam. The second option can be he can tap a person in the last row and ask him to come behind so that he has 2 people in the last row, so everyone's Salah will be valid. And the last option is he prays alone in the last row. As far as the first option is concerned, that if a person goes and stands next to the imam, surely it will disturb the imam. Secondly, the Prophet clearly said that in the congregation salah, the imam should be in the front. That is mustahab. So unless there's no place to pray and someone goes, if the complete small musalla or a small mosque is filled, and then if a person stands next to the imam, it's fine. But if the mosque has space behind, why should it disturb the imam? And why should you go against the hadith of the Prophet that the imam should be in the front? So the first option is not the correct option. Second option, if you tap someone from the last row and ask him to step behind, number one, there will be a gap in the last row. And the Prophet said that do not leave any gap. Stand shoulder to shoulder and feet to feet. Do not leave any gap for the Satan. So someone steps behind, there will be a gap. And if you close the gap, so the full row will be shifting and will disturb the full last row. Plus the additional point, the person who comes behind, you are degrading his position. From the third row, he is coming to the fourth row. And the Prophet said, the front row get more sawab than the back rows. So imagine you're tapping the person for your benefit, you are degrading the salah of somebody else. So the right opinion is that if the rows are completely filled and there's no option and you come later, so here you apply the ruling of the Prophet. The Prophet said, you follow Islam as much as you can. And now, if there is no way you can join the last row because it's completely packed. So in this situation, if there is no other option, if you stand in the last row and you pray, your salah is valid. And if you see the arguments of all the various scholars, you agree that the view of Ahmad ibn Hanbal that you should not pray alone unless there is no option, and if all the rows are filled up, then if you pray behind, then your salah is accepted. Otherwise, you'll have to repeat the salah. So the opinion of Ahmad ibn Hanbal is more as per the ruling of the Quran and it seems to be more correct. But even in this situation, if all the rows are completely filled, like the second question asked, so in this case, if you pray in the last row alone, the salah is valid. As far as the first question, that he prays only 2 or 3 rakat, he prays along with the imam, and maybe 1 or 2 rakats he has missed. So should he pray only the rakat which he has missed, or should he repeat all the rakat? If he's praying alone, single in the last row, when there is space in the second last row, then his salah is invalid, he should repeat the full salah. But if the last row is completely packed, and then he stands in a new row, and he gets 3 rakat, and misses 1 rakat, then he only repeats the 1 rakat which he has missed. Hope this answers the question.